Hello everyone, and in the last video we talked about installing Python, installing Jupyter Notebook in your system and writing our first line of code, which was print hello world. And I also gave you an assignment to print out your name. So let's hop on to our Jupyter Notebook. So first we'll go to command prompt cmd and then we'll type Jupyter Notebook and it will open Jupyter Notebook in our browser. Okay. So here is our Jupyter Notebook window and we'll create a new Python file. And in the last lecture, I taught you how to print anything. So let's say I want to print my name. So I'll just write print, then the brackets, and inside the brackets, we'll add quotation marks. These are quotation marks which are used to represent strings in Python. You don't need to worry about them. I will be explaining them later. So right now, just learn it as a syntax that this is how we are going to print our name. So print Yuvraj, which is my name. I'll do this and it will print out Yuvraj. Okay, so I hope you are able to print your name. If not, you can try like this. Now let's hop on to our first concept in Python programming or any programming language, which is called as variables. Okay, so you must have heard the term variables multiple times, like thousand or more than that. Okay, that this is a variable, that is a variable. We are dealing with variables, but what actually they are? What are variables in any programming language or in Python? So to understand the concept of variables, let's open to a whiteboard. Let me open a whiteboard. Okay, so we'll go to this whiteboard. Okay, now all of us have containers at our home in which we store some kind of things. So let's imagine this is a container, okay? This is a container and we store multiple things in, we can store multiple things in that. Like for example, we are storing sugar in it like this, okay? So just imagine, don't, sorry about my drawing. So imagine we are storing something inside a container. So this container, okay? So this is a container. It is holding some value. Okay, so in programming, actually containers are considered as variables. Containers are considered as variables and the values they hold are considered as the data. Okay, so I hope you got my point. In programming, the container which holds the data are called as variable. Containers which hold the data are called as variables. So how do we declare a variable? Right, now you must be wondering, okay, we got the point, we got the concept that variables are the containers to hold the data. But how do we declare a variable? How do we create a variable, right? So let's open to our code editor. Here, in order to create a variable, first we have to write the name of the variable. For example, let's say my name of the variable, let's say number. Okay, this variable number, I want this number to hold a value called as 10. So I will just write is equals to 10. So here I put the value 10, which is data, in the variable number. Okay, so if I run this, nothing will happen. It just stores the value 10 inside the number. So if you go to the whiteboard, I'll clear this. Okay, how it will look like? This is the container and 10 is present inside this container. Now the name of this variable, okay, is called as the number. Okay, so whenever we want to access this value 10, we will be accessing it via number, via its name. Okay, so why do we name the variables? The reason is there might be possibility that there are multiple variables like this. Okay, and there are different values inside them. Okay, now let's assume I want to access the value 12. How do I access it? There is no way possible I can access 12, right? So we name them. So this is number. I'll write it as, let's say, num2. This is num3. This is num4. Okay, so in order to access 12, which variable should I approach to? I will be going to the num2. Okay, I will be going to the num2. So here let's declare different variables. Let's say num1 will be my 10, then num2 will be my 12, then num3 will be my 14. Just an example. Now I run this. Okay, so these values are containing corresponding. These variables are containing the corresponding values. Now, if I want to print the value inside the num3, let's assume I want to print 14. So what I can do, I can either write print 14 like this, right? First method, it will print 14. Or I can do like this, print num3. Without quotes, we just directly give the name of the variable. So it's going to print out the value of num3. The value of num3 is 14. So you got my point. In order to access any variable's value, we just use their name. So I hope this concept is clear to you. So now in this lecture, we are going to learn about naming conventions in variables. So a variable basically holds the data. In the earlier video, I told you that variables are the containers which are used to hold the data, right? So now let's declare a variable which holds a value called as 10. Okay. So what do? We just simply write number is equals to 10. This is how we store a value 10 inside the variable called as number, right? Now we just simply write number and we put the value inside it. But did we think that there might be some rules behind naming this? So yes, there are some set of rules which I will be discussing right now. A variable name. The first rule comes, a variable name must be a letter, must start with a letter, and it can be alphanumeric value. Okay, so a variable name can be alphanumeric value, but it starts with a letter. Okay, the first rule is a variable name can be an alphanumeric value. What do I mean by alphanumeric? Alpha stands for alphabets, numeric stands for number. So I'll give an example for alpha, let's say hello, and for numeric 34. This can be a valid variable name and I can assign a value to it, let's say 100, and when I run it, it gives me no errors. It means this is the correct syntax. Okay, so a variable name can be alphanumeric values, but it have to start with a letter. So let's say instead of starting with H, I'll start it with 3. Let's say 32 hello. Will it run? No, it says invalid decimal literal. So it gives an error, right? So this is not possible. So it cannot start with a number. It must have to start with the letter always. Okay. So first rule is clear to all of you, I guess. Now let's hop on to the second rule. The second rule is that a variable name can also have underscore in it. Okay, a variable name can have underscore in it. How? I'll give an example. Hello underscore 32 is equals to 100. Let's run this. It's working. It doesn't give us an error. So underscores are allowed in the variable names. You can also put underscore at the front, but I would not recommend that as of now. I will be talking about that in the lecture later, why we do not do that. Okay. So this is right. A variable can also have underscore in it. Now let's go to the third rule. So third rule is a variable name cannot have special characters in it. Special characters in it. So what are the special characters? Let's say hello @123 is equals to 100. This is not a correct variable name. Okay. So special characters like exclamation mark or dollar sign, percentage sign, plus minus other operators are not considered as the variable names in Python. Okay. So a variable name cannot start with a cannot have a special character in it. Okay, and the fourth rule is variable names are case sensitive. Variable names are case sensitive. Not just variable names, whole Python is case sensitive. Okay, so let's have an example. Num is equals to 100. Sorry, num is equals to 100. Small num is equals to 150. I'll run this. If I print small num, sorry, my bad. If I print small num, okay, num with the lowercase characters, it will give me 150. But if I print num, then it's going to give me 100 because they both are different. Python is a case sensitive language and we must always remember that whatever the variable name is, it must have the same case while we are accessing it. Okay. So I hope you got it, and let's see you in the next video in which we are going to talk about data types.